Hey, it's Flocka, and I've created Battleship in LEGO Fortnite so you and your friends can go have fun on the open seas. It uses the new cannons and the swivels from the Lost Isles update, and if you've been having fun, hit the like button on this video, and let's get right into the tutorial. So if you're gonna use this for mini games, make sure you use Frostpine so that you have a fast turnaround between rounds, and you're not having to rebuild the entire ship. So take that 16 by 16, and you're gonna snap it to the top of the car jack, and we're gonna build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these 16s. We'll take the 12 by 12 and we'll place one of those, an 8 by 8 and we'll place one of those, and on the very end we're taking two 6 by 2 Shogun Palace floors and we're placing them right next to each other. That's gonna create the nose of our ship. This next part's pretty easy. We're just taking 16 by 2 ancient thin floors and we're going over the edges by one stud, and we're just creating some sort of slant pattern here. So we're just gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll go up 4, and then we'll go out 4. We'll make sure we do the same thing on the other side. So going over a stud, 2, 3, 4, and then up 4, 2, 3, 4, and then over 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're just going to go to the ends of these floor pieces and you're going to be able to fast snap the rest of these in. Once you get to the end of those 16 by 16s, you're going to take the 12 by 2 on the next platform and you're going to move this in and basically do the same exact pattern. So 4 and then 3 on top and then 4 more slanted. Next we're taking the 8 by 2s, going over the edge by one stud again, doing the same exact pattern. And the 6 by 2s in the front. Once again, repeating this pattern once more. On the front, we're actually going to take 12 by 2s and you're going to line these up with the back of the 6 by 2s so that it's smooth. And we're going to place a lot of these. So we're going to be filling in the front. Every once in a while, you'll be able to place a large filler piece like this 8 by 8. You can go ahead and do that. Just make sure that it is coming out to the end like this. So it looks like we'll have 3 of these and then a 4th one on top. And then we'll go to the 16 by 2 Frostpine floors. And we'll stack those next to each other like this. Now on the third layer of 16 by 2s, we're going to put a stud of room in between each floor piece. And then right on top of those, if you nudge it over into place, it should hang over a stud on each side. This is going to be the front of your boat. I like to add some 6 by 2s here, stack 2 of them in the front to get a better slant on the nose. But now we take the 16 by 16 Frostpine floors and we're just going to put these straight back like this. At the end, you're going to want to place one 16 by 2 and leave this open like this. And then on the edges, a good way to do this is to just click on the edge of each floor piece. So snapping it to the end of each of these floor pieces. I'm just gonna keep doing this until I reach the end, and then I'll use the appropriate combination of pieces in order to fill it in nicely. So when the rear of your boat looks like this, there's going to be 18 studs of room here. That can easily be fixed by placing a 12 by 2 and then a 6 by 2. This gap is 5 studs long, so you're just gonna place a 12 by 2 like this, And the last gap is actually 16 studs. So you're going to just nudge one more floor piece on the edge like that. The balloons are kind of a guessing game, so I'll show you what I do just to kind of get it into the water, and then it's really easy to fix things from there, especially if you're doing this in a sandbox world. But let's start off with the flat light bar, and I want to stick these underneath so that there's light poking through the front. I want to make sure that they're as close to that gap as possible, placing one on each gap just like this. And now when we come around the front, you see that it illuminates the ground, and you can kind of see the lights through those holes. On the back, we want to fill in these floor pieces. So we'll go ahead and grab the appropriate lengths and do that. And then we need a spot to put some thrusters. So how we set that up is by filling in these gaps here. So I actually just nudge it over to the wall like this. And then I'll go underneath and I'll do it again. And then underneath that one, we're going to place another one. These are all 12x2s. We can add some thrusters on the front for speed as well. Just 2 of them like that. And then we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 thrusters on just like this. We can always add more if things aren't working properly, but now I want to go ahead and add the balloons. And for these, I'm just placing as many as I can, just trying to guess the weight. It's going to be pretty heavy in the back, so I'm actually going to throw 4 like this, and then on the back, I'm going to add thrusters for turning, but we are going to try and see if we can't get this to work on swivel turning as well. But just in case that doesn't work, we're going to get these turning thrusters in. So we're putting one on the left side like this, and one on the right side like that. Make sure you adjust your channels. So for me, this is going to be channel 2, and this one's going to be channel 1. I'm going to throw extra large thrusters on the back, so it's going to be 6. And the ones on the left side for me are going to be channel 2, and the right side are going to be channel 1. And the last 2 turning thrusters are actually going to be on the outside, right on the front like this. If you don't like the way that that thruster hangs off the front, you can always go ahead and place some 8x2s in the front like this. And that way they both fit nicely on the side. And we'll adjust our channels right away. These ones are channel 2. And these ones are channel 1. And then we just try to finish it up. Put in the rest of the balloons. So I'm going to place a balloon as close to the thruster as possible. I'll place another one on the tan line. And then for now, we'll just keep placing them on the tan line and see how that works for us. With the pieces getting destroyed, these boats are going to float a little bit when they're hit, which is why I really want to try to get the 0 thruster turning working on this, because then I could put on activated balloons. And that way, if you ever get hit into the sky, we can turn off the activated balloons and get the boat down to the ground quickly. It still does fall down to the water. It's just a little bit slower and it leaves you susceptible to attacks, but it's not like a huge issue. We did a lot of testing last night and it all worked out pretty well. So we're gonna go to the top side and we're gonna add the cannons. Now, this is super easy, but for the sake of accurately recreating your ships between rounds, you're gonna wanna use a 4x4 frost pine floor to mark where the swivel gets placed. It looks like right after those 8x2 floor pieces right here, I'm going to be placing this ancient floor, and we're gonna throw the controllable swivel on it. And now that I think about it, there's absolutely no way that we're gonna be able to get swivel turning on the battleship without also controlling the cannons themselves. Unfortunately, we aren't allowed to put the swivels on an individual channel. Otherwise, that would have been absolutely goated. Nonetheless, we can go ahead with our original design with the controllable swivel and thruster power turning, which is why we went ahead and threw those in anyways. So go ahead and take the cannon, and you're gonna wanna nudge it up to the very end of that swivel like that. Make sure you load up those cannonballs. You should be able to sit in it, aim it up and down, and rotate it all the way around in a 360 circle. When you press the fire button, it's gonna shoot a cannonball, and then it's gonna take about 3 seconds to recharge. You can even load yourself up in the front of the cannon, and there's a different loading animation every time you get in. Now for my specific team names, I'm gonna have Team Peely and Team Tomato Head. So on one ship, we're going to have a marker for where 1 point can be had. We're going to place down a Frostpine floor, and on the edge of that, you'll be able to place the Nana Jungle Peely piece or any piece that you're using to count the points. This can be any piece that you have that stands out. Any one of the sculptures could work, to be honest. But the other team that we're gonna have for the event is Team Tomato. For the driver's seat, we're gonna wanna put some distance between it and this first target, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But we're gonna go about 8 studs away from it, maybe even 10, and then we're gonna go 6 studs away from the edge. And up top, we're gonna place a breakable floor piece. So we're just gonna do a rustic wood floor. Feel free to put any fence trim here. We'll just do 4 corners of the medieval railing, and we'll toss in that driver's seat. The idea behind Battleship is that there's gonna be 3 targets on the ship. If you destroy all 3 of the targets, there's gonna be a cornucopia of loot that you're gonna want to race your ship out to while the opposing team is still trying to destroy or disable your ship, and that cornucopia is gonna have some of the strongest weapons. You don't have to go out there, but once you disable the enemy ship, which happens by destroying their driver's seat, you're gonna be allowed to physically board the opponent's ship using your newfound advantage in weapons and loot to take over the enemy ship. Without going to the cornucopia, you risk evening out the points for the round. We're gonna assign points for getting the targets themselves as well as disabling the ship, and then whichever team ends up winning the PvP will be awarded points also. You'll have to be careful because as you're racing to the cornucopia to get that loot, the enemy team is gonna still be trying to take you out. We did a lot of testing last night and it was incredible amounts of fun. Now let's get these last 2 targets on as well as the final remaining cannons. We're gonna be adding 2 cannons on the back using the same exact technique. So for the cannons, we're actually going to go right up next to this driver's seat, and we're gonna pull this back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 studs. And then we're gonna bring it all the way over to the edge and then stack another one right next to it. We then wanna take the swivel and lined up right in the middle of those floor pieces, place 2 of those controllable swivels, 1 on each side. For these cannons, instead of making sure they're flush with the swivel, we're actually gonna pull it over 1 stud. So like this. That's gonna give us enough room to run in between. Now it gets a little bit dark at nighttime, so we're going to take the angled lights and we're gonna sneak them underneath the driver's seat. These will have to be replaced if the driver's seat gets disabled. And even though we don't want to admit it, the seat glitch is very prevalent in this game, but there's a way to kind of get yourself out of it, and it might get a little glitchy while you're playing. So go ahead and sneak some driver's seats in different spots around the battleship. I can't really explain how it helps, but you'll figure it out as you're trying to get out of the seat glitch.
Epic, please, 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 please.
And now we want to add on 2 more point spots here. So lined up with the Frostpine floor that we placed for the cannons, we're just going to bring them towards the back. It doesn't really matter where you place these, but maybe go like 10 or 12 studs away from the cannons and place those pieces. Those are 4 studs away from the edge. And then you're going to place your point indicators on those pieces. And that's pretty much it. There are some other things you can do, like add some fence pieces depending on which ones you have. Go ahead and add whatever you want. Just know that anything that's not Frostpine can get destroyed. So if you don't want to have to replace those between each rounds, don't even bother. And there we have it, the Battleship in Lego Fortnite. You see it kind of floating. Maybe we put too many on the back. I'm gonna go ahead and drop myself into the driver's seat. I'm gonna activate the thrusters. They should already be on the correct channels. We'll see how this thing looks in the water. So right now it's kind of just sitting on the top. We're gonna get rid of some of these balloons towards the middle here and try to get it balanced out and in the water just a little bit more. Get rid of 2 more. And then maybe we move some of these back a little bit instead of adding balloons. And that looks pretty good. Just mess around with those balloons until it sits in the water the way you want it. Before you do anything though, you're gonna wanna make sure all of these are off their channels unless you're operating this by yourself and you wanna shoot the cannons from the driver's seat. But we don't wanna be able to activate the cannons when we're trying to turn or activate something else. So we're gonna give this a nice little test run here. And luckily for us, there's a beautiful village, a beautiful unsuspecting village that we can use for target practice.
I've been trying to breathe underwater. I've been trying to hide 'cause I'm scared. Confusing which is one from the other. 'Cause it doesn't mean so much in the end.
Take it easy, everybody, and I will see you in the next one.